welcome to the archives. This week I'm doing something a little different. Not going to be having the usual background and whatnot, because when I do talking about my decks that I've used in tournaments and whatnot, I I tend to find it's a lot of fiddly work, just to make the episode look the way I have been. Um, I'm still going to do things the way I have been for the data pack, because while that is still fiddly work, it's not as much. Um, but for deck talk, I thought I would use Netrunner DB here, and show you my decks directly from it, because all the card art is still there and we can still see it and whatnot. So hopefully that will hopefully this will be nice for you guys. This deck is the deck that I played in the most recent tournament here. Um, it is my runner deck, Magic Time, as I call it. This is the identity that I'm using is, of course, L Smoke Scovak, Cynosure of the Net. The 0 link strength, stealth credit ability for recurring credit to use to pay for using icebreakers, 40 minimum card deck, 15 influence. Now, I went with a 49 card deck and only 3 influence spent out of everything. Maybe that was a mistake of mine, maybe. We've got 15 event cards, 4 hardware only, 15 resource, and 9 icebreakers, and 6 programs. So, we're going to look at these events first. We've got Cold Read, which is make a run, place 4 credits on this card, which I may use only during the run. When the run ends, trash a program, cannot be prevented, used during this run. So, this one I didn't use too much. I threw it in because it was a run event that gave me free money. But I'm not sure I like the idea of trashing programs. So this one I may get rid of. It is stealth credits though, so it could technically be used to boost net Mercure. I don't know. But I had 3 of this in my deck, and I didn't really use it. I did have 2 Encore. I didn't get a chance to use one of them, but I could have. You play only if you made a successful run on R&D, HQ, and Archives this turn. Take an additional turn after this one. Remove Encore from the game instead of trashing it. It was a decent enough card. I just didn't really have much of a chance to use it. This one, however, I did use. Escher. Run event. 3 credits to play. Make a run on HQ if successful. Instead of accessing cards, rearrange any number of ice protecting all servers, without resing or deresing the ice. The same number of ice must be protecting each server after the rearrangement as before, which was helpful. Reason being is because of the plan that I had. Now, what I might end up doing is throwing a couple more Levy Air Lab Access in here, or using the Cold Read for something else, like take it out and throw it elsewhere. We shall see. Let's see now. Notoriety is my next one. Right here. Same condition as Encore, except it gives you an agenda. You put in your score area as an agenda worth 1 agenda point. I scored one of these. In the only game I won with my runner, the only game I won, part of my win came from having a notoriety scored, which I was happy for. Peace in Our Time, from the new Quorum data pack, which I covered recently. Play only as your first click, only if the Corp scored no agendas during his turn. Gain 10, Corp gains 5, you cannot initiate any runs. I used this a few times, good for an infusion of credits. Mirror being the console for the +2 memory, and replace a spent recurring credit. Super handy to have, especially for some of my stuff that I have here. Top Hat. This is what I built my deck around. Whenever you make a successful run, instead of accessing cards, you may choose one of the top 5 cards of R&D and access it. You cannot access any other cards in R&D during this run. Fair enough, so it gives you a choice of the top 5 cards, and you can just pick what one you want. Now, if you already know what's on the top, or the top 2, or the top 3, you of course pick 4th or the 5th, right? Right. There's different ways of doing that. The way I chose to use Top Hat, however, was in conjunction with my breakers, because I've got Blackstone, which lets me break barriers for fairly cheap. I mean, 3 credits for +4 strength. So with 3 credits, I can break anything up to a strength 7 with just an extra credit on top of that. Houdini, 2 credits to get strength 6 for code gate breaking. And then Dagger is 1 credit for +5 strength. 2 credits for +10 strength to break sentries. So I had some fairly decent breakers in terms of all that stuff. I also had, I had like 3 of this, as you can see. 3 Dagger, 3 Houdini. I also had 3 Cloak for recurring credits for stealth for using icebreakers to help me use my Dagger more efficiently. And I had 3 Misdirection for removing tags, which did help me out once when somebody dropped 4 tags on me with breaking news. 2 credits, 2 clicks, 4 credits, all those tags are gone. Super handy to have. Now, with these breakers being for the remainder of the run, Blackstone and Houdini both for the remainder of the run, and Dagger being super cheap to boost as long as I have stealth credits, what I did with it was I made sure I had enough money to be able to run multiple times on R&D. the thing, what I'm going, sorry about that. That was me having a complete brain fart for a minute. Top Hat, yes. With these particular things to boost my, to be able to break down ice and whatnot, I use Top Hat. As long as I got the money, I make multiple runs, and I go look at the top card, look at the second one down for my second run, the third one down, the fourth one down. I just looked at the top 4 cards for 4 runs. Now, what happens if they ice up? Throwing a lot of ice on onto your R&D. Oh, that's what Escher is there for. If they start boosting up the stuff on R&D, build up your money, make a run on HQ, rearrange your cards, rearrange the ice so that it's easier. Put all like a bailiff or all of the same, like all code gates, all barriers. Throw all of them protecting R&D instead to basically make it easier for you to get through. That was my entire plan for all of this deck, is just get myself with money, get my programs in to break, and just start running R&D hard. And it worked. I won 1 game with it, but I still won 1 game. That's still proof of concept. Good enough for me. I had algo trading. Once I got that working, I kind of like that card. It starts building up money without doing much of anything. So I'm super happy with algo trading. I, of course, had a couple all-nighters in here to get me more clicks, which I am happy with. Since I'm getting rid of Cold Read, probably in the next iteration of this deck, I may have to throw in another all-nighter or look at some other cards that give me extra clicks, like Beth Kilrain Chang. She did some work for me in a couple of games when the corp was like, they've got all the money, so I just started getting money, getting cards. I had many turns with an extra click, which was super handy to have. Ghost Runner I had installed for the Stealth Virtual, like the stealth credits on that. That is good. because it helps me boost up my net mercure, which I had, which did quite good work for me as well, and Katie Jones to help me build up money as well. So most of these cards were just for my money and my resources or my clicks to get me it. So yeah, that's my deck. It's basically a shaper deck that kind of just runs R&D hard, but still has the ability to run any remote servers or HQ or anything else for that matter. It's pretty good. I like it. So yeah, as you can see here, the reparation cost. I've got like 15 cards that cost 0 to play, and then 6 cards that cost 1. 8 cards, I think it is, not 6. That's like, what, 10, 11, 12 cards that cost 1, and then 8 cards that cost 2, 10 cards that cost 3, 4 or 3 cards that cost 4, and 1 card that costs 5. So all of my cards are like 4 or less for the most part, except for the Levy AR access. So yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. I'm going to tweak this deck some for sure, but I do like it. So let's go on to my Corp deck, and I'll see you over there in a minute. All right, here we are over at my Corp, which I called Advanced Mind Games. I didn't actually have a mind game in this one for the ice, but there's a reason why I called this one Advanced Mind Games. It's Jinteki Biotech, which means it has the flip identity. So as long as my identity is not flipped, they have to wonder which one I have. Am I going to do 2 net damage? Am I going to shuffle archives into R&D? Am I going to put 4 advancement tokens on a card? Nobody knows. Nobody knows except me. I've got, for my agendas, we've got 3 Brain Trust, which lowers the cost of all, the res cost of all my ice for each token on it, but it's also 2 agenda points for 3. So helps me when I want to fast advance stuff. Medical Breakthrough, 4 advancement to get 2 agenda points, but each time one of them is scored, it becomes less to advance. Again, for fast advance. The Nissan Mark II, I've got 3 of them. 4 to 2. You can't fast advance this really, but if I can get it installed and I've got the right flip identity, I can just score that out in a turn. So that's handy to have. But also, this one's in here because it ends runs for the hosted counter. And then I've got 1 Philotic Entanglement to do net damage to the runner once I score it for 10 agendas. 3, 3, 3, and 1. My ice over here, I've got Aishigaru, which gains end the run for each card in HQ. I've got Wall of Thorns, does net damage and end the run, both barriers. I've got a Lotus Field, also ends the run, can't lower the strength of it. I've got Kamainu, which does net damage for each card in the runner's grip, but low strength. And Neural Katana, decent strength, just does net damage. So all the net damage and ending of the runs is what all my ice is for. Because I'm not really worried too much about the runner getting through. Why? Because I've got 3 aggressive secretaries to trash programs when there's advancement tokens on it. I've got 3 Project June bugs to do net damage with advancement tokens on it. I've got a couple Melange Mining Core for money, and a couple Jackson Howard to get card draw and to pop advancements back into my R&D if need be. I've got 2 Ash in here to protect whatever cards I happen to have if I want to have an agenda out. It's there to do protection. But the reason why I'm not worried is because I've got Motion Notion to throw 3 advancement counters on it. Because the basic premise is to go Mushin Notion, either one of these, or the Aggressive Secretary or Project Junebugs. It's either going to be an agenda or it's going to be a trap. It's either going to give you points as a runner, or it's going to likely kill you, and if not kill you, it's going to trash a lot of your programs and put you behind. One or the other. And the best part is, I Mushin Notion one of these, and the runner doesn't run on them. I can always throw a few more advancement tokens on it and use back channels to gain 3 credits for each advancement token on it. Which is a card I really wondered why I've never used it before. And I've also got the Medical Research Fundraiser to give me money and to give the runner money, because I don't really care about the runner having a lot of money. It's not really a problem for me. This deck didn't win me any games, but there was definitely a few games where it was close and where the runners were a little leery on running some things. I'm glad I got to use back channels in an actual game. It did good work for me. I liked it. Now, I may have to tweak this some. And as you can see down here in the reparation by cost, we've got 14 cards that are worth nothing. Don't cost anything. And then we've got 2 cards that cost us 1. 2 cards that cost us 2. 3 that cost us 3. 4 that cost us 3. We've got... what is that? Yeah, 9 cards that cost 5. 3 cards that cost 8. And 3 cards that cost 9. And our ice strength. Our barriers are like 5 and 4. Our code gate is 4. And our sentries are 3 and 1. For strength-wise. So, not all in all, not a bad little deck. I find it definitely does the trick. I did manage to, on one game, Mushin Notion of Brain Trust. The guy never touched it. I didn't touch it the second turn. The guy still didn't touch it. I advanced it once. The guy still didn't touch it. And then the next turn, I advanced it 3 more times and scored it at 7. So all my ice was lowered by 2. Which can be helpful, especially when you've got like a 9. This one here, Aishigaru, costs 9 normally. Get 2 advancement tokens on an overscored Brain Trust, that only costs 7. Wall of Thorns only costs 6 at that point. Lotus Field, 3. Kamainu, 3. Neural Katana, 2. So it's super handy to have that. I quite like it. But that's my biotech deck. Like as I said, the main thrust of this was just get agendas or get my my ambushes out with advancement tokens on it and see what the runner does. Just throw them out there, Mushin Notion them, and let the runner go to town. Wasn't really worried about him running with only 10 agendas. So yeah, it was pretty good. I had fun with it. I'm definitely going to have to look at poking my head around with some of the other stuff that we've got going on. I'm looking at going back to my moving pictures deck and retweaking it now that NBN is getting new ice and stuff. I want to try some of the new cards of that. So, that's it for this episode of The Archives. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, if you like what I'm doing, please give that like button a tap. Give that subscribe button a tap as well if you haven't already, so you can be kept apprised of when I do new videos. And throw a comment in the comment section. What do you think of my decks? What sort of decks do you think I should build next for my next tournament? Throw some comments in the comment section. I'd love to get a discussion going with people. And until next time, my friends, keep running.